Welcome to our introductory course on Eternalism, the divine philosophy of the eternal worlds. Unit 7, Becoming Profound Theologians. In Unit 7, we'll explore Brigham Young's call for the saints to become both philosophers and profound theologians. We'll explain this dual role and highlight the distinction by contrasting a philosophical question with a theological one. Additionally, we'll revisit our original 2004 philosophical stickman and explain the reasons behind his upgraded appearance in 2024. To start, it's worth mentioning that the original philosophical stickman I introduced in the classroom back in 2004 has undergone a significant upgrade. The 2024 version is not only more personable and stylish, but also comes with one notable addition: a hat. Let me explain why I felt this hat was an essential improvement. In previous presentations, we highlighted how the gospel combines both philosophy and theology. Philosophy gives a systematic accounting of man's relationship to reality. Theology gives a systematic accounting of man's relationship to God. The original 2004 stickman depicted only the philosophical aspect. In 2024, the addition of the hat symbolizes theology, reflecting that Latter-day Saints wear two hats, a philosophical and a theological one, when adhering to the philosophy of eternalism. This dual hat concept emphasizes our commitment to both aspects. The dual hat concept serves as a reminder that, while the gospel is the philosophy of eternalism, it also incorporates theology. This is why Brigham Young urged the saints to become both philosophers and profound theologians. On philosophy, he said, "This people have embraced the philosophy of eternal lives, and in view of this, we should cease to be children and become philosophers, understanding our own existence, its purpose, and ultimate design." On theology, he declared, "Our favorite study is that branch of science which particularly belongs to the elders of Israel, namely theology. Every elder should become a profound theologian, should understand this branch better than all the world." Our philosophical stickman with his stylish hat embodies this dual role as both philosopher and theologian, reminding us of the importance of both disciplines. To clarify how the philosophical stickman aligns with the theological aspect, let's compare it to the theological stickman, incorporating the 5 E's of eternalism and the centrality of eternal lives. The key distinction is that the theological stickman emphasizes man's divine nature rather than his human nature. From this foundation, each element aligns seamlessly. Eternal laws correspond to metaphysics, the nature of reality. Eternal truths align with epistemology, the study of knowledge. Eternal lives reflect value ethics. What is good and meaningful? Eternal kingdoms, parallel politics, order, and governance. The beauty and glory of the eternal worlds correspond to aesthetics, what is beautiful. As for the centrality of eternal lives, consider Brigham Young's declaration, "This people have embraced the philosophy of eternal lives." Clearly, Brigham Young understood eternal lives as central to the 5 E's of eternalism and its theological framework. At this point, you might wonder, what distinguishes a philosophical question from a theological one? And what does it mean to shift from the philosophical hat to the theological hat? To illustrate, let's explore 2 of the most consequential questions in philosophy and theology, questions so foundational that misunderstanding them could undermine these entire fields. In philosophy, the question is something real because we perceive it, or do we perceive something because it is real? This is a reality-related question, making it distinctly philosophical. In theology, the question is something good because God commands it, or does God command something because it is good? This is a God-related question, which defines it as theological. Let's briefly examine each question, starting with the philosophical one. Imagine you're sitting in a philosophy class when the professor pointing to the word reality on the board, asks this pivotal question. Is something real because we perceive it, or do we perceive something because it is real? This question leads me to ask two follow-ups. How would most Latter-day Saints respond, and what is the question really asking? Keep these two in mind as we explore the following four possible answers. 1. Something is real because we perceive it. 2. We perceive something because it is real. 3. Both of the above. 4. None of the above. Most students, and likely most Latter-day Saints, would choose both of the above as the correct answer. However, this response overlooks the deeper issue at play. Is reality independent of man's mind? If reality is truly independent of the mind, then the popular both answer would actually be wrong. Let's examine why. Imagine a swimmer in the ocean. Beneath him lurks a shark. Now ask yourself, is the shark real because the swimmer perceives it, or is the shark real whether he perceives it or not? The answer is clear. The shark is very real, whether the swimmer sees it or not, as he's about to discover. This example highlights a crucial truth about reality. It is defined as that which exists independently of the mind. In this case, the correct answer is number 2. We perceive something because it is real. Now let's consider its theological counterpart. Imagine you're sitting in a theology class when the professor, pointing to the word God on the board, asks this pivotal question. Is something good because God commands it, or does God command something because it is good? Once again, we ask, how would most Latter-day Saints respond, and what is the question really asking? Keep these two additional questions in mind as we explore the following four possible answers. 1. Something is good because God commands it. 2. God commands something because it is good. 3. Both of the above. 4. None of the above. Most students, and likely most Latter-day Saints, would choose both of the above as the correct answer. However, this response overlooks the deeper issue at play. Is reality independent of God's mind? If reality is independent of God's mind, then the popular both answer would actually be wrong. Once again, let's examine why. Imagine a Christian explorer venturing deep into the forest of a remote island. He encounters a native holding a spear who seems friendly enough, despite the 2 human skulls lying on the ground nearby. This could go bad, really bad, the explorer thinks. But as a Christian commanded by God not to judge others, he decides to set aside his fears and act as though there's nothing to worry about. 10 minutes later, the explorer finds himself in a boiling pot of water, surrounded by potatoes, carrots, and onions. And yet, was his decision not to judge others still a good thing? Or could the explorer have misunderstood God's commandment? Clearly, he thinks, I was wrong not to judge others. And now the explorer is about to learn just how wrong he was. If reality is truly independent of God's mind, then the popular both answer would be incorrect. And the correct answer would be, God commands something because it is good. However, this view directly challenges traditional Christian creeds, which assert that God created reality ex nihilo, out of nothing, where reality has a contingent existence entirely dependent on God's will and word. This idea of contingent existence stands in direct opposition to the philosophy of eternalism and the Latter-day Saint belief in eternal realities that exist independently of God's will and word. We have just explored 2 of the most consequential questions in philosophy and theology, questions so foundational that misunderstanding them could undermine our understanding of God, man, and the universe. These questions will be covered in greater detail as part of our course material, allowing us to delve deeper into their implications and significance. This ends this Unit 7 presentation. Thank you for watching. Join us for Unit 8, where we'll introduce you to A House Divided Will Fall. And be sure to take the Unit 7 overview quiz to deepen your understanding of the gospel and the philosophy of eternalism.